Well, there were a few pollsters who got last night's election right, and one of them was Robert Cahaly, founder of the Trafalgar Group, and he joins us now to discuss, the sweet taste of victory, Robert. What did you base your predictions on?
Well, the main thing we recognized early on, as we did in 2016 and 2020, was that Trump's vote was being undercounted. There, and there were different reasons. I mean, in 2016, it was much more about people didn't want to be shamed by saying they were for Trump. But by the time we got to 2020, it was about people afraid, people, right or wrong, people afraid that saying they were for Trump may put them on a list to be targeted by the government for investigation or for some sort of prosecution or targeted by big tech for censorship or cancellation. They were asking us questions like, what are you going to do with this information? Who has access to this information? How secure are your servers? I mean, all kind of stuff. And so they were extremely nervous. So, we do a better job than almost anybody at identifying these votes, which is why we've been number one or number two in the last three presidential cycles. But even we said all along, we thought that he would exceed even what we predicted, and in every state, not a single state did he underperform where we thought he would be. And so we were pleasantly surprised by that. Well, actually, not surprised, but I think everybody else was surprised by that. But once again, the big networks, the big newspapers, the big universities that everybody refers to as the quality polls just blew it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that more, because you'd think at this point, just for the sake of business, that they would change. I mean, how do you have the quality and the qualified, pollsters making this mistake for this long? I mean, it's got to pay the bills somehow, whether the basis is ideological or otherwise. I mean, what's going on here?
Well, I think you make a good point. It is when you talk about the business. Well, is there punishment for them? Uh, as long as they're the ones who have their little association where they decide what the quality polls are and the media defines what they are, then it doesn't matter whether they get it right. And you said for the sake of business, well, what if your business is trying to influence voters? I mean, I've said for years there are two purposes for a poll. They can be designed to reflect the electorate or designed to affect the electorate. And I think, and I thought for a long time that the goal of these other polls was to suppress vote and to affect the electorate. So if that was their goal, then certainly they achieved it again, and they made the people who fund them happy. I mean, you look at that insane Des Moines Register poll that came out. I mean, it really is crazy at this point that people still talk about how this is such an excellent pollster. I mean, this is the one who predicted that Ted Cruz would lose to Donald Trump in the Iowa caucus. That didn't happen. Predicted that Nikki Haley would come in second in the Iowa caucuses and easily defeat DeSantis. That didn't happen. He got the percentages all wrong. And yet again this year, I mean, just at the last minute, this poll, which got exactly what it was intended to do, got everybody all spun up on a Sunday. This idea that Kamala was making a last minute charge, and a lot of Kamala people started getting the sense of a little momentum, and it was all artificial, designed by a poll that was created to affect the electorate.
Well, and do you sometimes feel like people tend to mess with the pollsters? I mean, because if someone came and was polling me, I don't know that I would tell them the truth. I think I would probably try to mess with them a little bit. Do you think some of that happens?
Especially in New Hampshire. Those people love doing that. I mean, they really enjoy. I think it's a blood sport in New Hampshire, but I mean they really like messing with us. But I think most people just, for whatever reason, don't want to share. And the other thing is that, the quality pollsters and their association have this nonsense that that to get a great poll, you have to ask like 30 questions, 40. I mean, how many people do you know have time on a Tuesday night to stop what they're doing and answer a 40-question poll? Like nobody. It's completely insane. And yet they do it again and again and again. And they do these small sample sizes, 400, 500. It doesn't make any sense. You've got to give people surveys in a way that they can easily take them, and you got to give people a survey that they can fit into their life. We always joke that the ones that are the live call orthodoxy, I always ask, all right, well, who under 50 are you talking to that answers the phone from a number they don't know and then talks to them verbally? I think they're pretty weird. That's what I think. They're not regular people, and they sure as heck shouldn't speak for regular people.
Now, do you think that, given what just happened, which is historic, that this is going to change in terms of polling in the future?
No, because there is no punishment. There will be nothing wrong. They will still. I mean, here's the thing: you have 538 owned by ABC, owned by Disney, deciding who the good pollsters are. Who do you think they're going to put at the top? They're going to put the ones that blow it, that push the Disney agenda forward. I mean, you look at the prognosticators. They had as bad a night as anybody. I mean, those guys were all, I mean, the last weekend to start ticking back toward Kamala, I mean, they were buying into all the nonsense. Here's what I'll tell you. Look at the betting markets, because the people who put their money where their mouth is, they're the ones who know which polls to ignore and which polls to pay attention to. And we know they look at ours.